Hello.
Hi, Mavis.
I was on my own Zoom because that's what it said on my calendar. And then I thought, okay, something's amiss here. I see you invited the Buddha. How nice.
I did. Love having him here.
Yeah.
Dickon gave it to me, actually.
Oh, he's a jolly Buddha.
He's a jolly one. Thank you so much for coming.
You are most welcome. I'm glad to be here.
Yeah. This is the Danish Three Principles organization, and it's a non-profit, and its mission is to share the discoveries of Sydney Banks. And we mostly do it in Danish, but we also, once a month, or when we can, we invite someone like yourself, because it's always wonderful to hear some of you who have been in this understanding for a long time. So welcome.
That would be me. A long, long time.
A long, long time.
I've been everything a long, long time.
Am I right in you? Did you turn 82 a few weeks ago? Yeah.
Yeah, in November, yeah.
November, okay.
I'm working on 83 now.
Yes.
Yeah.
Please do.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna, because Azul sent me something about you. I'm just gonna read what she asked me to read about you.
Oh, okay.
Just like the official introduction, which is so Mavis is in private practice offering coaching, counseling, teaching, education, and consulting services. And you still do that?
I still do that. Yeah.
It's very hopeful for us younger coaches that we can continue doing it. That's great.
I have a few people that I have promised to tell me when I'm not making any sense anymore. So until that happens, I'm going to hang out.
You need to have those. And your honesty and humble true north understanding of the inborn potential of each of us is deeply and broadly respected by clients and colleagues globally. She works from her home office in Minnesota, and she's the author of the well-known letter to juvenile inmates, The Secret, which I shared with this group last week, so they know. Well, I'm just grateful that you're here, and it's wonderful to see you again. And I'll give you the word.
All right. Well, thanks for coming, everybody. I've talked with Natasha a bit, and she asked if I might to talk to what I call our divine engineering, which I think is just another word for what the principles explain. That it's kind of like gravity is the word for a law of nature that Isaac Newton noticed and told us all about. So the longer I'm around, the more I just marvel at the gifts that have been given to us in order to exist and experience life. It's astonishing to me how well we're made and how little we realize that. And it's my mission to, for myself and for others, to get a little more appreciation and respect for who we actually are and how we actually are. So I'd like to chat about that for a bit. It's like this one little thing. If you all right now, you're probably looking at a screen, and if you just look someplace else, you just, with intention, change the aperture in the lens of your eye. Bravo. You didn't actually have to do anything to have that happen. All you have to do is intend to look there, and your eye cooperates. I have no idea how that works. But isn't it amazing? You don't have to look up in an instruction book what to do before you look someplace else. You just intend to. And your eye just cooperates. It's just one little thing. One little thing. As it relates to the principles, it's an amazing thing that because we're co-creators with the universe of our experience, that we can take an ability, thinking, we can take the gift of thought and create our own unique individual reality without even actually knowing how it works. And we're doing it all the time. Not only that, we are made with sensation that lets us know the quality of the experience we're creating, moment to moment. We're not just given the gift of thought and say, have at it. We're given a guidance system for it that lets us know in the now, right now, the quality of the experience we're creating from the inside out. It's not telling us what to do. It's not ordering us around. It's just letting us know this is the way it feels to use the gift of thought this way. I mean, that's love. That is somebody, something, some big thing loves us so much. It made us able to create our own reality and then lets us know how we're doing with it. All the time, never gives up. Never. I've been thinking, I do think now and then, I want you to know that. And lately I've been thinking about how we kind of think about our body and our mind and spirit as different things. And so I'm wondering, like, how can that be? That can't be. That the body and the mind and the spirit are all one. They're just, we give them different names, and it's okay to give them names, but then we think they're separate. No, it's all one. It's all universal intelligence. So there's no difference between our spirituality and our body and our state of mind. It's all one. At least that's the way I see it. That now, religion, that's a different thing. That's an organization that hopefully is trying to get us to see the glory of everything and how we're made and all of that. Sometimes it's really good at that, and sometimes not so much. And sometimes it has a lot to do with oneness, and that spirituality and psychology and physicality are all one thing. Sometimes it's good at that, sometimes not so much. But the point is, we need to understand that we are magnificently made. And if we can realize that, we will start to make much better use of all the gifts we were given. Don't you think? I think so. It's like we have a car. It's a nice little car. It has all kinds of things on it that so far I don't know about. I keep finding out more things about it. And the more things I find out about it, the nicer it is to have that car. Because it does all kinds of things I didn't know it could do. And it's all designed to help me have a nice ride, have a nice trip. Same with us. We are designed to get an amazing experience out of our life. Now that, I want to address something else here. I kind of can jump around a lot. So, you know, hang on to my shirt and come with me. I think that there's some kind of a mistake in how we talk about the principles that leads people to believe that if we're not blissed out, we're doing something wrong. And that the goal is to be blissed out all the time, to be happy all the time. And anything less than that is varying degrees of mistakes and misunderstandings. I think not. Because if that is true, I am really bad at this, because I can really get cranky. Now, the good thing about my getting cranky is now I kind of don't care, because I know, well, I'm just in a temporary little brainstorm here. It'll be over. And I try to just shut up and not make any decisions and keep it to myself so I'm not making a mess. But even when I'm not cranky, I'm still not blissed out all the time. I'm in and out of the moment, and I have bursts of gratitude, and I have bursts of humor, and I have little bursts of kindness and little bursts of irritation, and it's just going on all the time. And sometimes I have bursts of outrage and anger at injustice, cruelty. And I don't think it's my job to calm down and be sweet. I think it's my job to get clear and do whatever I can about it. If I had to choose between bliss and clarity, I would choose clarity every time. Bliss is great. But if I had to choose, I'd choose common sense and wisdom and clarity. Because there are things that need attention. There are things we need to help with. There are some horrible things happening. And they don't need us to sit on a couch with chocolate and bliss out. They need us to be clear and do what comes to us to do. So if the way some of us are passing this on has led you to believe that you just don't get it if you're unhappy now and then, we were mistaken. We don't mean that. That's not true. It's not true. Let yourself feel everything. Let yourself feel everything. Because that's a guidance system. It's like, isn't it helpful that, say when you need new shoes and you go to the store and you try them on, and isn't it helpful that there's something that tells you not to buy the ones that aren't your size, not buy the ones that are too tight or too loose or whatever? Isn't that helpful? Isn't it helpful to know when to put your coat on and when to take it off? Isn't it helpful to know when something's too hot to drink? Isn't it helpful to know when you take something out of the refrigerator and it smells just terrible, you know not to eat it? That's just, who made that up? That we get all of that guidance all the time, and we don't even have to pay for it. You know, you don't have to sign up for it or get it as an extra. It's built into you. And this is another one of my favorite apps. We are capable not only of, at will, retrieving information from our memory. That alone is astonishing. That you can just be talking to someone and they'll say something and you can retrieve something from your memory that might be of assistance to the conversation. How does that work? Again, there's not a knob on your head or something that you can turn on and go, okay, excuse me, would you send me this? With intention, you can retrieve it. But we are also made so that when we are still for a moment, we allow for a thought to come into our mind that didn't come from memory. Think about that. How does that work? But yet we do it all the time. That happens all the time. And I don't know about you, but I never stopped long enough to realize, whoa, that is something. That is really something that a second ago, I didn't know something that I now know. Because a thought came into my head and I realized it. It was real to me. It became real. And a second ago, it wasn't. We're made that way, every last one of us. I have to calm down sometimes because I can get just overly astonished, if that's a term, that we are so blessed, and that if you're anything like me, most of us didn't even realize it. Because we were just so busy listening to everything our brain was rattling off and believing everything our brain said, acting on it, getting in trouble, beating ourselves up for getting in trouble, and then doing the same thing again and beating ourselves up for that. We we didn't realize what was right under our nose, that we are magnificently made and able to have the next right step occur to us without us doing anything except understanding that it can. That's astonishing. And it's ordinary. It's absolutely ordinary. It's just like looking at a newborn baby and saying, this is an ordinary baby. Nobody ever does that. Nobody ever thinks their baby is ordinary. So, does anybody have anything to say about any of this? Or any, yeah, but what about things? Anything. I'm not telling you I know all the answers to anything, but if something occurs to me, I'll tell you.
I just love the simplicity and the everyday examples of, isn't it great that you have, you know, if you're buying shoes that are too small or too little, that's such a great way of explaining how we're made and that we have this feedback system.
Yeah.
So anyone who wants to share something and question and insight, anything, please, can you raise your digital hand because it's easier to see for us? And then we can see who wants to say something.
Buddha's still laughing.
Always, always.
My kind of guy.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a good one. You know, as I shared the letter that you wrote, The Secret, you know, so many responded positively to that. I shared it on our Facebook group, and lots of people were saying, oh, where I share it in my own groups and stuff. And so maybe it would be wonderful to hear a little bit about what happened before you shared it. I've heard the story before, but I know probably a lot of people haven't.
Sure, I'd be glad to.
So beautiful.
I'm kind of amazed at the wings that little letter got. It just goes out, flies around. I did this was quite a few years ago now, I did a 2-year project where I worked with kids in prison. Kids being kids from about 15 to 17 or 18. And I went to a prison about an hour south of where I live every Sunday for 2 years and did classes. And it was a blast. It wasn't a blast at first because they didn't think much of me. I was the wrong age and the wrong gender and the wrong profession and in some cases the wrong color. And it's not like they were overjoyed to see me, but they got over it and we had a good time. And then I saw them when they would get out of prison too, for their paroles or their times they had to wear a belt on their ankle and so forth. So I spent a lot of time with them. And on the last day of my 2 years with them, they had the ones that were out had a little party for me, and they made a cake that was just, oh my goodness. I wish I would have taken a picture of that cake. It looked like they had a fight over it. It was just, but it was so sweet. Anyway, before I went, I thought, I really want to give them some. I just love these kids so much. And I wanted to give them the world actually, but since that was a little out of reach, I I finally thought, okay, I'm just going to write him a letter. So I sat down and I just poured it out. It didn't seem like I was writing it. It just, my love for them just came out. And I made a copy for all of them and went off to the party and gave them the copy. And that was the end of it until a couple of years later, I got a call one day from the big boys prison. It was called Stillwater. And there was a prisoner there that worked in the art department, and he wanted to know if he got a hold of that letter some way or other. I have no idea how, but he wanted to know if he could make a poster out of it. So okay. So he made a poster out of it and he mailed me one. And this is the poster. Okay. And so I had a bunch of them made and I just started giving them to the kids. And it just got wings. But I think that happens when people do something solely from their heart. Not to make money or to get approval or to get something done. It's just it just has a life of its own, I think.
That's a wonderful story.
They taught me a lot. It wasn't their intention to teach me a lot, but they did. They were hilarious, but there were some moments with them that were so full of love and generosity of spirit. Can I tell you a story? A story about? I was in the class with one of them. There were, I don't know, 15, 20 kids. And there was a new kid there that he was about 17, I guess. I'm going to call him Robbie. And he had been on his own since he was 10. He lived in a public housing project in Chicago, which was notorious for being crime-ridden and drug-ridden and so forth. And that's where his mom and his siblings lived in. He came home one day when he was 10, and his mother and his siblings were gone. Apartment was empty. They were gone. And he had no idea where they were. Nobody else had any idea either. And he was 17 and hadn't seen them since. And he was just on his own. He would spend a few nights here and a few nights there and started dealing drugs to make money and was occasionally incarcerated and in and out and in and out. Didn't know how to read or write, and he did know math because he had to keep his drug money stuff straight, but that's it. He'd never been to school. But he was telling his story he was introducing himself, and the way that he explained the thing about his mom is that he was a bad kid. And that's why she left him behind. And he said that like it was just, well, of course, that's why. He wasn't trying to get pity or anything. It was just, well, see, I was a bad kid and she left me behind. And he believed that. And I was about to set him straight on that. And the kid next to me said, Robbie, your mama didn't leave you because you was no bad kid. She left you because she didn't know how to be no good mama. And all the other kids said, yeah, she just didn't know. That's she didn't know any better. They all, and I was stunned. And so was he. That had never occurred to him. And yet he had all these kids. They weren't knocking his mom. They weren't judging her. She didn't know how to be no good mama. That is such wisdom and compassion from a bunch of so-called hoodlums. And now they had their moments. You could see why they were locked up, but they had more and more moments where you could see where they probably weren't going to get locked up anymore. They knew too much now. And they could help another kid realize something that turned his life around. I remember you mentioned Sid. Somebody had told him, I guess, that I was working with kids in prison, and he came to Minnesota. He came to Minnesota pretty often, and we all went to see him. And one of the times, a few of us went out to lunch with him, and I was sitting by him, and he said, "You're working with kids in prison?" I said, "Yeah." And he said, "Tell me some stories." Did you know him? He loved stories, just loved stories. So stories, tell me stories. So I just told him a few things like that one and some others, and I guess I must have had kind of a matter of fact demeanor about telling the stories, like, well, they were, just stories. And he leaned over and he put his hand on my arm. He said, "Don't ever get used to the miracles, dearie." And I'll never forget that. It's why that when I tell that story today, I have much more respect for it, for the miracle of it. Because I didn't at the time. I was like, holy cow, that kid said what I was going to say. Wow. But I saw it after Sid did that. I saw, oh yeah, I gotta have some more respect for this. And I know why I didn't have as much as I should have, is because I come from a culture of people that you shouldn't brag about what you do. You shouldn't even take credit for what you do. You just, somebody finds out, fine, but you're not going to be the one that tells them, right? You're just going to do it. Just never mind. And when I saw that, I could see the miracle of it without taking credit for it. I can just see, whoa, look what happens when people find out who they are. Holy cow. But I don't take credit for it, because if I take credit for that, I have to take credit for the ones that didn't get it. I'm just lucky that this is what I get to do. I'm just grateful.
I love that the story also points to that innocence, that they were healthy enough that they saw the innocence of his mom, of Robbie's mom. Yes. And I think that's one of the most difficult things for people to see, for instance, in what's going on in Ukraine right now, right? And I was wondering if you could speak a little bit about that innocence, because innocence of what? Innocence of behavior or innocence of who we are?
Just not knowing who we are. Not just, I have as much, I know this is not going to sound right. I know. I have as much compassion for those Russian soldiers as I do for the people they're murdering, because they don't know who they are to have been doing things like that. And I think about if they ever wake up and realize what they've done, I hope they can handle it, because it's going to be awful. But we're all the same. We're all part of a flawless whole. So I think when we start not having compassion for one side and we're missing something. To get to the point where you've lost such touch, you can't feel your own soul, and you do unspeakable things. We're all capable of that, and we should know that. We should know it. And you can certainly judge the acts, but leave some room for seeing the innocence. And, some of them, we say people don't know any better. That's true. It's true. But some things are so obviously horrible that we can't imagine why they can't see it. They can't. It doesn't mean it's not possible for them, but it's the best they know. And it's the best they know sometimes is just absolutely god awful. But somebody said once, forgive them, for they know not what they do. It's true.
It is. We have Ivan from Sweden, who's joined us today, who has his hand up. Ivan.
Hi.
Hi.
Natasha.
Hi.
Hi, Mavis.
Hi.
I'm so glad I'm able to watch this. And about this innocence, I want to share something about my father. I'm almost 70. So when I was a kid, it was allowed in Sweden to foster with violence. And that was what he was doing. And then he died at the age of 56, 1978. I was 25. And we hadn't had any chance to clear the air about that. So I was really pissed off of him. And I was that for 30 years. And then in 2008, it just hit me. He did what he did from where he was, what he knew, his thoughts in moment. And I could forgive his actions and him. It took 30 years. And all of a sudden, all those happy moments came back to me, because we had happy moments too. I was almost always with him at work, riding with him on his motorcycle on the back when I was 5 years old and up. we were a lot of fishing, days and nights on the river, fishing. We had fun, but that was just pushed away from my memories. Didn't exist until I saw what I saw. His innocence. And it kind of turned me into what I am today. You're so right about the war in Ukraine, and the innocence of the Russian soldiers. They are not seeing the terrible things they are doing because they don't know better right now. But they will. I agree with you. They will. Someday they will. So yes, that innocence, it's important to talk about.
It is. And you just did a great job of it.
Thank you.
Thank you. That's what a wonderful story.
Yeah. Thank you, Ivan.
Thank you.
Anyone else want to share something? We have about 15 minutes left. Any questions, any insights while we have Mavis here?
Or even if I'm not here.
Yeah. Sanne.
Hi, Mavis. Thank you so much for being here.
You're welcome.
I was just amazed when you started talking today about the way that you were so excited. Yeah, I just love that all the little things that you showed us that we just take them for granted. Just that example with turning our eyes away and looking at something different. It's not something that, at least for me, it's not something that I ever think about, that is amazing, but it is. Yeah. And it just turns our lives so much around when we start to see that all those amazing little things that are just natural to us.
Yes.
Yeah. So, yeah.
No end to how much you can see, like swallowing.
Yeah.
Isn't that amazing?
Yeah. Yeah. Yes, it is. Yeah.
You can just put something in your mouth and do what needs to be done to get it to where it's supposed to go.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah. And actually some people who have had some kind of brain damage, they suddenly cannot do that because it's just, even though they don't know what it is that doesn't work, right? It just stops. Yeah. Yeah. I just loved how you pointed us back to that kind of, it's like the same wonder and amazement that you see when you see a little child, right? That every time they see something new, they're like, oh, yeah.
But we haven't lost that.
No, we have it. We still have it, but we just forget it.
Yeah. Well, we get so serious.
Yeah. Yeah. I think you're right.
So,
yeah.
We get so many rules about whatever that we forget.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think we just start taking everything for granted, right? Instead of seeing the miracles in it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So I just wanted to thank you for that. That was really lovely for you to point to that.
You're gonna do the same thing.
Hopefully.
hard to. I'd like to hear all the things that people notice, because then I can notice them. You know,
Yeah.
it's like, it's the joy about having little kids around.
Yeah.
Like I have a great granddaughter, and when she was about 3, she was with me. She was spending the weekend with me, and we were in my backyard, and I turned around and she was laying flat on the ground, and it looked like she was talking to the ground, right? And so I went over there and said, what are you doing? And she said, I'm talking to this worm. And it was very serious. And I just kind of watched. And she was having this conversation about this worm, about how it shouldn't come up right now because the sun was out. And it wasn't good for him to be in the sunlight. And she just wanted to make sure he understood that.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's great.
Yeah. And it comes from love from her, right?
Yes.
To help
Yes.
that little worm. Yeah. So cool.
So rent a kid.
Yeah. I have 2. So
there
I'm
you go.
amazed every day. Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Anyone else? What are you hearing? What are you seeing? Anything? Questions? Nadia.
Hi, I hope my internet connection will allow this. Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Ah, perfect. Hi, Mavis. Thanks for being here.
You're welcome.
Hey, you spoke about you'd rather have clarity than bliss.
I didn't get that.
Sorry. How's that?
I don't know yet.
Okay. You spoke at the beginning about you would rather have clarity than bliss.
If I had to choose.
Yeah.
Fortunately, I don't have to choose, but if I had to.
Yes. And it got me thinking about sometimes we live in a world where achievement is perhaps valued higher than clarity. Or can you talk a little bit about, like you talk about, you know, we have some things that we got to do, but then there's also this presence of just being. Can you talk a little bit about that?
What comes to, I can talk about what comes to mind, and I hope it fits what you asked. I think I'll do it by another kid's story. Is that all right?
Yeah, lovely.
I was sitting with these kids again, the prison kids, and there were 4 different cottages or big houses. And so I did 4 classes a Sunday. And this Sunday I had them all in one big room. So there were a lot of them. And I started the class, and then there was this one kid that kept wanting to complain about something. He wanted to complain about the food or the guards or something or other. And I'd talk to him a little bit, and then he'd calm down, and then he wanted to complain again, and he'd do it again. And finally, I don't know what I said, but I know it had an edge on it because I could feel it. And he looked like he got slapped. And I said, "Oh, I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to be so sharp. I'm really sorry." And he said, "Oh, that's all right." And I said, "Well, no, it's not. I just reacted too fast, and I really want to apologize." And finally he said, "Get over it." So I said, "Oh, okay." Now, that's the first part. After the class, I was just standing around talking to some kids, and there was this one great big kid. He had never said anything the whole time he was in my classes, never said a word. He was huge. He was built like a great big overstuffed chair, and his arms were out, and he was muscular, and he came kind of waddling over to me, and he gave me a little punch on the arm, which wasn't actually a little punch, but he said, that was a great group, G. They called me OG, which means, I thought it meant old grandmother, but it turns out it means original gangster. I had no idea that it meant that. And anyway, he said, that was a good group. And I said, I thought it was horrible because I had been rude to a kid. And I said, you like that group? What did you like about that group? And he said, I never heard an adult apologize to a kid before. Mm. And I said, really? He said, yeah, that was a great group. And he punched me again. And really, the next day, my arm was purple. But and I thought about that. And I thought, oh my God, here I am teaching this class, all about all this stuff about mind and thought and consciousness and all of that. And the kid gets something out of it because I apologized. There's a lesson in there somewhere, Mavis, that you might be of more use to everyone by simply being yourself than anything else you do, anything else you achieve, any medals you get, or just by being your true self and doing the right thing, even though it's embarrassing. It's like, I think I told you those kids taught me more than I taught them. I'll never forget that. Mm. That just showing up, whatever you do, in the cleanest, clearest feeling you can find is powerful. And it's possible for all of us. It's a choice to make every moment if you can, because you can only make it for now. And since it's always now, that's always a possibility. It's simple. It's simple. When in doubt, just be yourself. And even when you're not in doubt, be yourself.
That answers my question perfectly.
Oh, great.
Thank you very much.
Well, we're coming towards the end. I know that you and Michael Neal have a book coming out pretty soon.
That's what I hear.
Yeah, I saw the two different covers that you were asking. They look very cool.
We were having a conversation about which is which, and he said, I'm going to put it up for a vote. So he turns it over to, I don't know what, 1,000 people, and they get to vote on it. So,
what do you know when it's coming out?
I think in June.
Oh, great. Great. So look out, everyone, for Michael Neal's and maybe his new book, Just a Thought. Is that the title?
It's called It's That Simple.
Oh, It's That Simple. Oh, Just a Thought. That's Amy's book. Yeah.
Yeah.
And also, you are open to take clients. So if anyone wants to work with Mavis, then she's online, and I'm happy to put your information in our group tomorrow so that people can find your website. But otherwise, there is only one Mavis Khan, I think.
Maybe one's enough.
You're absolutely wonderful to listen to. I enjoyed every single time. Thank you so much for coming and sharing with us.
You're so welcome. Thank you all for listening to me.
Yeah.
Take good care.
You too. And I'll see you next week.
Yes. Great.
Good, good. Thanks, everyone. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
I love you.
Oh, you're welcome. Thank you very